What's the latest as far as you're aware with Harry Kane? Because we've seen a second bid reportedly put in for Harry Kane. Matt Law this morning is talking about a new deal worth £400,000 a week for Harry Kane to stay at Tottenham. What's your understanding of the latest situation, and what do you believe Harry Kane wants this summer?
Well, I think that we see Harry Kane, when the camp are talking to Bayern, intimating that at least the terms would be acceptable. And then we still haven't had Harry Kane tell Tottenham he wants to leave the football club. And until that scenario happens, Tottenham are calm about the situation, whether he signs a new deal or not. So it's absolutely true that Tottenham will put down a lucrative offer, presuming that Kane doesn't just hand in some kind of transfer request and Daniel Levy agrees to it. Tottenham will put down a new offer. As you say, Matt Law's reported that. And then Kane will have the opportunity to either let that lie and let the window close and assess all options, not sign it, and then revisit it later in the season, or obviously be convinced by the Ange Postecoglou project. And I don't think Tottenham will put too much pressure on Kane because they're quite happy at the moment to near auto-reject offers. So as I exclusively reported now a couple of weeks ago, Bayern's second offer is around £80 million all in, of which close to 70 million is the guaranteed fee. And then add-ons take it pretty close to £80 million. And Bayern don't want to go too much higher, which means that if this is rejected, and it may already have been because Tottenham tend to reject offers and then deny they ever existed, which is what they did for the first one. If they reject this, if Bayern come in with the third offer, my understanding is they're going to want Kane to be a part of this story. Because when you make one offer, you test the water. When you make a second offer, you're serious about the player. But if you come back in with a third offer and it keeps just getting dismissed, you need the player to say, I want out. Yes. And at the moment, Kane is not a part of this story. He's saying one thing to the Bayern camp, and then he's saying nothing to the Tottenham camp yet. So Ange Postecoglou, as he said yesterday in the press conference, is going to meet with Harry Kane. They're going to talk about the project. And I still think that Tottenham are calm, that Harry Kane will be in a Tottenham shirt come the first game of the season. And the only thing that can change that is a higher Bayern offer and Kane pushing his way out of the club. And first of all, the Bayern offer may not be able to go that much higher. And second of all, Kane as now is not communicating directly and aggressively in any way to Tottenham that he wants to leave. So in the end, Bayern might be leverage around a new contract. Kane might be able to have his cake and eat it, delay signing anything, see how the project goes under Postecoglou. Remember, there's also January as well. It's a bit more disruptive for Kane to move mid-season, but the price would drop, which means that you might get a higher pool of suitors as well. So there's a fair few variables, but as of now, and it may change if Kane starts to be more aggressive, but as of now, Tottenham think that Kane is staying.
Which makes a lot of sense. I've said all summer, I think for him to go, he's got to force the issue. And right now, he's not doing that at all. I'm still intrigued to see what happens should Man United get their takeover come through. And he's still, the word available is probably the wrong word for it, but not sold or hasn't signed the new deal. I'm very intrigued to see the scenario then. But yeah, I just don't see 80 million, 85, 90 million being enough to tempt Daniel Levy. How much do you think Bayern would have to offer for the ownership just to say yes outright? What would be the sum that you've been quoted?
Well, I think that the first thing to say is that the Tottenham position is not to put a price on Harry Kane. So we hear this 100 plus million, but 100 plus million is only a viable deal if also Daniel Levy decides to cash in. And part of Daniel Levy's thinking is about Kane could just do a season, and if he leaves on a free, he leaves on a free. And if in that season he helps us get into the Champions League, then that's worth it. And if Tottenham succeed, he probably will sign. So Levy's prepared to play risk reward, which means that 100 million might be enough, but there's no guarantee. And Levy also doesn't want to sell necessarily to a Premier League rival either. So again, it's not about the number, it's about Harry Kane. Because if Kane is pushing and making it clear to Tottenham that he's been a great servant to the football club and you have to now let me leave, if that's what he's saying, then suddenly Tottenham are in a much weaker position. And that's where maybe someone will be able to get Harry Kane for a slightly lower price or around that 100 million mark. But if Kane is saying, look, I'm not going to force my way out. It's business as usual. If you keep rejecting offers, then I'll do pre-season and I'll start the first game of the season and then the window will shut and I'm a Tottenham player at least until January. Then Daniel Levy will probably sleep easy at night, which means that there's no magic number. There's just a ballpark, and that ballpark will only potentially be a viable number if, again, Kane is the one actually driving it.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. And I think I still feel like there's some moving parts, maybe a sting in the towel. I think that it's so early in the window still for final resolutions. This feels like a transfer deadline day deal, whether it's a new deal at Tottenham or whether it's him leaving, we will see. So I think it's going to be an exciting one for the remainder of the window. In terms of other incomings at Tottenham, is there anything else on the agenda right now? Obviously, Maddison has gone in and Solomon's in. Is there anything else that they're looking at that you're aware of in terms of incoming for Spurs fans to be excited about?
Yeah, I think Tottenham are looking for a centre-back. We've known this for quite some time. Mickey van de Ven is one player that they've been considering and exploring, and price has been a little bit of an issue there. So we know that this is a key area because Ange Postecoglou is intent effectively on having ball-playing centre-backs and defenders more generally. But Spurs will abandon their pursuit of Mickey van de Ven because of the fact that ultimately price is a problem and they're still looking for value in the market. So that leads them towards perhaps Edmund Tapsoba, another one that's been on the list for quite some time. And he's a top target, I think it's fair to say. And the valuation there is something in the region of 40, even some would say 45 million. So they're going to be ones to watch over the coming weeks. And then obviously Manor Solomon is another one that's coming in as well. So Tottenham have actually done a fair amount of business here. And if they hang on to Kane and they've brought in Maddison, which for 40 million plus add-ons is a decent bit of business, they will be looking strong. And then it's a case of how do the players transition from Conte ball to Postecoglou ball, because even though they've had two interims in the middle of that, it's a big leap. And what Postecoglou is looking for is composed ball-playing centre-backs and progressive front foot central midfielders that have that kind of modern element where they can get box to box, they're direct passers, they win a lot of 50-50s, they're tenacious, whereas some of Tottenham's midfielders are a little bit more rigid, a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more old school, a little bit more tactically orientated, maybe not as fluid or as versatile as Postecoglou is looking for. And this is why I think, again, during pre-season, once he assesses what he's got, then we'll start to understand what else he needs. But centre-back is high on the priority of Tottenham wishes as well.
Makes perfect sense. Viewers, do us a big favour and hit the like button.